Now this is your 7th lecture, paper number EL5504. We are discussing about the noise. External noise, internal noise, thermal agitation noise, short noise, like this we are discussing in this lecture. Thank you. Now the next lecture, lecture number 7, EL5504. EL5504, Unit 4, after satellite communication. In this unit there is a next topic is noise. In this topic we study external noise, internal noise, thermal agitation noise, short noise, transit time noise, this type of the different noise in this chapter. So we start with noise. First of all, noise, we start external noise. There are various forms of noise created outside the receiver come under the heading of external noise and include atmospheric extraterrestrial noise and industrial noise. So first of all, atmospheric noise. In this, an astonishing variety of strange sounds will be heard, all tending to interface with the program. Most of these sounds are the result of spurious radio waves which include voltage in the antenna. The majority of these radio waves come from the natural source of disturbance. They represent atmospheric noise, which is generally known as a static. Static is caused by lightning discharge in thunderstorms and other natural electric disturbance occurring in the atmosphere. It originates in the form of amplitude modulated impulses, and because such processes are random in nature, it is spread over most of the RF spectrum normally used for broadcasting. Atmospheric noise consists of spurious radio signals, spurious radio signals with component disturbance distributed over a wide range of frequency. It is propagated over the earth in the same way as ordinary radio waves of the same frequency, so that at any point on the ground, static will be received from all the thunderstorms, local and distant. The static is like to be more severe but less frequent if the storm is local. Field strength is inversely proportional to frequency, so that this noise will interfere more with the reception of radio than that of a television. Such noise consists of impulses, and these non-sinusoidal waves have harmonics whose amplitude falls off with the increase in the harmonics. Static from distant source will vary in intensity according to the variations in propagating conditions. The usual increase in its level takes place at night at both broadcast and shortwave frequencies. Atmospheric noise becomes less severe at frequencies above about 30 megahertz because of two separate factors. First one is higher frequencies are limited to line of sight propagation, that means less than 80 kilometers or so. Second one is the nature of the mechanism generating this noise is such that very little of it is created in the VHF range. VHF means very high frequency range and above. Next one, extraterrestrial noise. It is safe to say that there are almost as many types of space noise as there are sources. For convenience, a division into two subgroups will suffice. First one is the solar noise. Second one is the cosmic noise. And these are the two main parts. In this solar noise, the sun radiates so many things our way that we should not be too surprised to find that noise is noticeable among them. Again, there are two types. Under normal quiet conditions, there is a constant noise radiation from the sun. From the sun, there is a constant radiation simply because it is a large body at a very high temperature. It therefore radiates over a very broad frequency spectrum, which includes the frequency we use for communications. However, the sun is a constantly changing star which undergoes cycles of peak activity from which electrical disturbance erupt such as corona flares and sunspots. Even though the additional noise produces come from a limited portion of the sun's surface, it may still be order of magnitude greater than that received during the period of quiet sun. Second one is the cosmic noise. Since distant stars are also suns and have high temperatures, they radiate RF noise. RF noise means radio frequency noise in the same manner as our sun, and also what they lack in nearness they nearly make up in numbers, which in combination of can become significant. The noise received is called thermal noise, and it is distributed fairly uniformly over the entire sky. We also receive noise from the center of our own galaxy, from other galaxy, and from the other virtual point source such as Q-star and pulsars. These galaxies, this galactic noise, this is known as galactic noise, and this galactic noise is very intense, but it comes from the source which are only points in the sky. Next one is the industrial noise. Between the frequency of 1 to 600 megahertz, the intensity of noise made by humans easily outstrips that created by any other source, internal or external to the receiver. Under this heading, sources such as automobile and aircraft ignitions, electric motors, and switching equipment, leakage from high voltage lines, and a multitude of other heavy electric mechanisms or machines are all included. Fluorescent lights are another powerful source of such noise, that means industrial noise, and therefore should not be used where sensitive receiver reception or testing is being conducted. The noise is produced by the arc discharge present in all these operations, and under these circumstances it is not surprising that this noise should be most intense in industrial and densely populated area. The nature of the industrial noise is so variable that it is difficult to analyze it on any basis other than the statistical. It does, however, obey the general principle that received noise increases as the receiver bandwidth is increased. Internal noise. Under the heading of internal noise, we discuss noise created by any of the active or passive device found in the receiver. Active or passive device found in the receiver. Such noise is generally random, impossible to treat on the any individual voltage basis. That means instantaneous value basis, but easy to observe and describe statistically. Because the noise is randomly distributed over the entire radio spectrum, there is on the average as much of it at one frequency as at any other. Random noise power is proportional to the bandwidth over which it is measured. I repeat, random noise power is proportional to the bandwidth over which it is measured. The next one is the thermal agitation noise. Thermal agitation noise. The noise generated in a resistance or the resistive component is random, and it is referred to as thermal agitation, White or Johnson noise. I repeat, thermal agitation noise, White noise or Johnson noise. Short question, what is Johnson noise? It is due to the rapid and random motion of the molecules inside the component itself. In thermodynamics, kinetic theory shows that the temperature of the particle is a way of expressing its internal kinetic energy. Hence, the temperature of the body is the statistical root mean square, RMS, root mean square value of the velocity of the motion of the particle in the body. As the theory states, the kinetic energy of these particles becomes approximately zero at the temperature of absolute zero, which is 0 Kelvin, and very nearly equals to the minus 273 degree centigrade. It becomes apparent that the noise generated by a resistor is proportional to its absolute temperature, in addition to being proportional to the bandwidth over which the noise is to be measured. That means Pn is equal to Pn is directly proportional to capital T delta F. Here Pn is equal to maximum noise power output of a resistor. Capital T is the absolute temperature. Hence this is equal to K T delta F. K is equal to Boltzmann constant. It is equal to 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 23 joule per Kelvin. T is equal to absolute temperature, K is equal to 273 plus degree centigrade. Delta F. What is delta F? Bandwidth of interest and Pn. Last, Pn is equal to maximum noise power output of a resistor. So with the help of this equation, we can calculate the example. The example is, if the resistor is operating at 27 degree centigrade, resistance is equal to 27 degree centigrade, and the resistor is operating at 27 degree centigrade. This is temperature, and the bandwidth of interest is 2 megahertz. That means delta F is equal to 2 megahertz. Temperature is equal to 273 plus 27 degree centigrade, it is equal to 300. K, we know that 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 23. Then what is the maximum noise power output of a resistor? Find out Pn. I repeat the example. If the resistor is operating at a 27 degree centigrade and the bandwidth of interest is 2 megahertz, then what is the maximum noise power? Find out Pn. So Pn is equal to Kt delta F. It is equal to 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 23 into 300 into 2 into 10 raised to 6. This is equal to Pn is equal to 1.38 into 10 raised to minus 17 into 600. This is equal to 0.138 into 0.6 into 10 raised to minus 12. This is equal to 0.0828 into 10 raised to minus 12 watts. So here, in this way, we find out the Pn of this example. I repeat, first of all, external noise. Then we discuss about the atmospheric noise. This is atmospheric noise is constitute of a spurious radio signal with a component distributed over a wide range of the frequency. Then we discuss about the extraterrestrial noise. Extraterrestrial noise, two parts, solar noise and cosmic noise. Then we are discussing about the industrial noise. These are the external noise parts. Next one, we discuss about the internal noise. Internal noise, there is a thermal agitation noise. Then we are discussing about the equation Pn is equal to Kt delta F, and with the help of this equation we find out the one example. The example, in this example, temperature is given 27 degree centigrade and the bandwidth of interest delta F is also given 2 megahertz, and we want to find out the Pn. Pn is nothing but it is equal to maximum noise power output of a resistor. So with the help of this equation we find out the Pn, and this Pn is equal to 0.0828 into 10 raised to minus 12 watts. That's all in this topic. Thank you.